It's 3 in the morning and you're awake. You check the time, you do the math on how many hours you have left, and feel a small drop in your stomach. Something's wrong with you. Here's the strange part. For most of human history, waking up in the middle of the night wasn't a problem. It was scheduled. People expected it. They had a name for the sleep before it and a different name for the sleep after it. Somewhere in the last 200 years, we deleted that and replaced it with one solid block, and then started diagnosing ourselves when our bodies refused to cooperate. So let's run the tape backwards. From the sleep score on your phone, all the way back to the first living thing on Earth that ever slept, which it turns out didn't have a brain. Because when you look at it in reverse, you notice something uncomfortable. The normal night's sleep you keep failing to get was invented roughly at the same time as the light bulb. Start with today. 8 hours, 1 block, uninterrupted. That's the target, and we treat missing it like a medical event. That's a whole industry built on the gap. Trackers, rings, apps that grade your night and hand you a score in the morning. Sleep aids are a multi-billion-dollar market, and there's now a name for what happens when people chase the numbers too hard. Researchers call it orthosomnia, anxiety about sleep quality, driven by sleep tracking that makes sleep worse. This measurement causes the problem it's measuring. We talk about sleep debt like it's a bank account. We say we failed to sleep. Nobody talked like this 300 years ago. Not because they slept better, a lot of them slept badly, in cold rooms on straw next to animals, but because there was no single correct shape a night was supposed to have. So where did the 8-hour block come from? Not from biology, from work. Rewind to the 19th century. Before cheap artificial light, the night was long, dark, and mostly useless for anything productive. Candles were expensive. When the sun went down, most people went to bed not long after, which meant they were in bed for 11, 12, sometimes 14 hours. Then gas lighting arrives in the city and electric light flows. Suddenly, everything is usable. Bedtime slides later and later. But the morning doesn't move because the factory whistle doesn't care. Wake up is now fixed by a shift, not by the sun. Squeeze a later bedtime against the fixed alarm and the time bed collapses. The long, loose, 2-part night gets compressed into one dense block. And the number itself, it comes from a labor slogan. 8 hours labor, 8 hours recreation, 8 hours rest. That's a demand for a fair working day, first popularized in the 1800s, and it was never about human biology. We took a union bargaining position and turned it into a medical standard. Keep rewinding, and you find something else that sounds made up. In the 1990s, a historian named Roger Kirch went looking through old diaries, court records, medical books, and novels. He found the same phrase over and over. In more than 500 documents across the centuries, first sleep, and then a little later in the text, second sleep. People went to bed not long after dark. They slept for a few hours, then they woke up on purpose in the small hours and stayed awake for 1 or 2 hours and then went to sleep again until dawn. That gap in the middle even had character to it. It was quiet, households used it. People prayed, tended the fire, talked in bed, went to check on animals, or visited neighbors who were also awake. One French physician recommended it as the best time to conceive a child on the grounds that couples had rested first and would enjoy it more. They weren't fighting insomnia. They were in the middle of the night's second act. And here's the eerie detail that phrases just vanish. By the end of the 19th century, first sleep stops appearing in ordinary writing. The concept didn't get argued away. People simply stopped having the experience, and the words went with it, which raises the obvious question. Was that pattern just a habit, or is it still in us? There's an experiment that answers it, and it's one of my favorite things in science. In the early 1990s, a psychiatrist named Thomas Weir at the National Institute of Mental Health put volunteers into 14 hours of darkness a night, roughly a midwinter night before the artificial light, and left them there for weeks. At first they slept enormously, paying off whatever they were short. Then something else happened. Their sleep split in two. They settled into a rhythm of about 4 hours of sleep, then 1 to 3 hours of calm wakefulness, then about another 4 hours sleep. Exactly the shape described in those old diaries, reconstructed in a lab by modern people without being told to. And during the gap, their bodies were doing something specific. Elevated prolactin, a hormone associated with a relaxed, restful, almost meditative state. Not lying there stressed, resting. The pattern was never removed from us. We just stopped giving it the darkness it needs. Rewind past humans entirely. Every animal has been properly studied sleeps or does something very much like it. fish, flies, worms, which is bizarre because sleep is a terrible idea. You go unconscious, you stop eating, stop mating, stop watching for anything that wants to eat you. If evolution could have deleted sleep, it had hundreds of millions of years to do it and it never did. Whatever sleep is for is non-negotiable. Some animals compromise instead. Dolphins and several bird species sleep with half a brain at a time. One hemisphere down, one awake, one eye open. A bird can do this mid-flight. That's how essential it is. Rather than skip sleep, evolution invented a new way to sleep while it was flying. So it must be something the brain needs, except that's where it falls apart. In 2017, researchers studied Cassiopeia, an upside-down jellyfish. It has no brain, no central nervous system at all, just a loose net of nerves. They found it sleeps anyway. At night, its pulsing slowed, it was harder to rouse, and if they disturbed it through the night, it was sluggish the next day. It had to make the rest up. That's the whole checklist for sleep, and an animal with nothing to sleep with. Which means sleep is older than brains, older than thought, memory, or dreams. Whatever it originally did, it was happening at all the level of cells. Maintenance, repair, resetting something chemical long before there was a mind to rest. We inherited it from an animal that could not think. So run the tape for it again and watch what repeats. Every era decides there's one correct way to sleep and it assumes it's natural. Medieval Europe, 2 sleeps and a waking hour between them, obviously. Victorian factories, 1 block, 8 hours, obviously. In the US, 1 block, 8 hours, tracked, scored, and graded, obviously. Each one felt like biology. Each one was almost whatever the light and the work allowed, which means the thing keeping you up at 3 in the morning might not be a disorder. It might be a 200-year-old scheduling decision, arguing with an instinct that is older than the human brain, older than any brain. You're not broken. You're just running very old software on a very new night. If you want the full history on the next world-changing thing, subscribe. New episode coming soon.